from my bed to the floor. 5, 6, 7, 8. Will today be rough or will today be great? 9, 10, 11, 12. Lately I've been going through hell. 13, 14, 15, 16. Today's the day. Are you coming? Are you sick of being normal? I'm sick of being average. I'm sick of being mortal. I'm about to be a savage. I see a lot of things that I want, I will have them. I got a new mindset that I just established. I'll march through the cold with the nails on the pavement. I'll shovel that coal just to get out the basement. My story will be told, helping others make changes. I'll be so bold, they will watch in amazement.
Am I gonna face it? Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it. Am I gonna face it? Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it.
Foot up on the pedal, pushing hard to the metal. Make a deal with the devil. Channel rage through my vessel into something that is special. Energy of a rebel, going up a level. I just wanna be greatness. I could feel changes, turn a new page and tie up my laces. I will be the bravest, break out of my cages. I will not be nameless, I will not be aimless.
Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it. Am I gonna face it? Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it.
What's going on, guys, ladies, and gents out there? What is going on? Welcome back to the Locked In Podcast, episode 215. 215 as in where we're actually located for this podcast, which is Philadelphia. So 215, we made it to episode 215. Just want to give a shout out to my boy Nate, who's already on the comments over there on Facebook. Can't throw you up on the screen, bro, but I see you watching over there on Facebook. What's up, my brother? Thanks for tuning in. To anyone else out there who's watching tonight, we got a really big topic in store for you. It is Men's Mental Health Month. That is what June is. Here we are. Men's Mental Health Month. That is basically what we are talking about tonight. And in terms of mental health, men struggle with it heavy. Women do as well, but men, I'm glad that they're bringing light to this. They have been for years now, and it's something that men struggle with a lot. I can personally relate as a man, struggling to talk about my feelings, my emotions, especially being vulnerable. It's been a struggle for me throughout a lot of my life, to be honest. I'm always very transparent here, but it's something I'm really working on, understanding I got a good support system and stuff. So we're going to talk tonight. Basically, guys, Rich was supposed to join the podcast, emergency, about 15 minutes ago. He's not going to be able to join tonight. That's okay. We still got two tentatives coming on here tonight. Dante Watson was on last week, so Dante may be joining in as well. He's a tentative, and then Marius Raffaelli as well is another tentative that should be able to make it on, but I still listen to him as tentative just in case he can't. Anybody who else wants to join in, just shoot me a DM in this hour. I can bring you on if you want to talk about this, particularly men or women. You can still come on, even if you're a female and you want to come on here. Just let me know. I can shoot you the link and have you join. If not, you just want to comment, throw your comments in the chat, Facebook, YouTube. I'm talking to you guys who are watching on there. Spotify, you're just listening, but Facebook and YouTube. YouTube, I can throw your comments up on the chat, live chat here. Facebook, I just got to read them. I got my Facebook pulled up here so I can kind of address the comments as they come through. Nate, what's up, brother? Thanks for checking in. He said, hey, getting ready for work. Sorry. Nah, bro, you're good, man. I appreciate you. That was actually, no, never mind. He just said, hey. That was yeah, I got both chats here. A little confused. But Nate, what's up, brother? Appreciate you joining in, man. So guys, mental health is huge. This is big, and it's a topic that's near and dear to my heart because it's a level of my life that I've needed to be better on. You know, a lot of my life, we're good with certain things, right? As men, we understand that we're going to go out and we're going to hustle, right? We're going to grind. We're going to work hard. Majority of men have that innate mindset that we're going to be protectors. We're going to be providers. We go out, we grind, all this. But when it comes to actually speaking about your mental health and feelings, this is something a lot of men are not in touch with. They are not in touch with their feelings and emotional side. There's a lot of women who aren't in touch with that side either, to be honest. It really depends on how you were brought up. I think a lot of it stems from that. But men, there's a specific stigma. I think you could sometimes be brought up in maybe a healthy dynamic, but still a lot of times, what is the father figure in the household typically going to look like? He's probably a stoic guy who goes out, hustles, grinds, and just shuts up, doesn't speak about his feelings, isn't emotional. I know personally, my father was never someone who ever spoke up about that. And I love my dad to death, and I have a really good relationship with my father. But my father was never someone who was super vocal about emotions or feelings. A lot of times in my household, and this is a lot of households, to be honest, you're kind of taught to just, especially as a boy, as a young boy, as a young man, to just kind of brush it off and keep pushing. And while I do believe that stoicism and being able to shake things off in life, because life is going to come at you with storms, I think it is really important as men to to understand that we also have emotions and we have feelings. And it's okay to talk about those things with trusted people around us. Not everybody has them, unfortunately, but I think a lot of times, I know from my personal circumstances, and I can only speak on my circumstances, for me, it was more so I thought that I couldn't really talk about deep things with people around me. This showed up in friendships. This showed up with family. And this showed up in relationships for me. So this is something that I have essentially struggled with a lot of my life. I started to realize that I have people in my life that I can trust to talk to. I got brothers that I've been long-term friends with who will listen and not judge. Now, I got some people that maybe I think I've trusted in the past, and I think this is also where this has come from, whether it be family or friends at a young age, and that information was used against me later on. So that's where I think a lot of the struggle with men opening up comes from. It could also be women too, though. See, like I think women, depending on your attachment style or how you were brought up and what your past experiences have been, can also struggle with this. But particularly, we'll focus on the men's side tonight because it is Men's Mental Health Month, and this is what we're covering. But ultimately, depending on what your environment has been, when you have spoken up about your mental health or maybe certain things you were going through on a deep level, if you were judged and that information was used against you, a lot of times that kind of causes us to shut down, especially as men. You know, we're very prideful. Not all men are prideful, but a lot of us carry ego and pride. I know for a long time I did, and I'm still a prideful person in some ways. You know, I'm trying to really work on myself in terms of this. But so I'm not a perfect person. I mean, hey, I still have somewhat of an ego, somewhat of some prideful moments in my life for sure. But I'm getting a lot better with taking a step back and understanding and working to cope with these things. To like be like, why am I reacting this way? Why am I so prideful in this moment? Like, what is making me feel, really taking the time to really try to practice my emotional, I would say, my emotional awareness and just kind of try to take that step back. Because a lot of men, they just aren't in tune at that level. And, there are men that are in tune at that level. And it kind of, a lot of times I recognize it came from my upbringing. Like, it just, like, for me personally, if I'm speaking on my experience, it came from my upbringing. So I was kind of just told, brush it off, keep pushing, whatever. Young boy, young man. It's the same age as I grew up. But now I'm recognizing it's okay to be stoic. It's okay you want to be the rock, right? As a man, we're taught to protect, provide, and be the rock in times of turbulent waters. And there's going to be storms in life. You're going to face storms. And a lot of times I've always been that person that people can come to, but I would always just keep my deep insecurities and my deep things that I was going through. I'll keep that really pushed down. I would keep that really tight and close to my chest and would just not tell anybody about it. But the thing about it is like, what that was ultimately causing me on a daily was it was causing me irritability. I was essentially being somebody I wasn't, because although I was there for other people, I wasn't really there for myself. I wasn't checking in with myself. I was more so, we talked about this 2 weeks ago, people pleasing. We're showing up for other people, and that's okay. But when our own check engine light is on, when our pilot light's on E, our gas tank is on E, we could be showing up for other people, but when we're not showing up for ourselves, there's an internal conflict. We're not really practicing what we're preaching to other people. I feel like a lot of times we can give other people the best advice, not the best advice, but we can give other people good advice, but we don't take that advice for ourselves. So this is something that we need to assess. And like I said, men and women both struggle with this, but it's almost like acknowledging women on Father's Day. Like this is Men's Mental Health Month, so I'm just going to focus on men for this topic. We've talked mental health from the men and women's side a few weeks ago, so check out that episode. I think it was four episodes ago, and we'll continue to cover mental health here. But I can highly relate to this topic as a man. Just not really thinking that I had people in my life that I could be open and honest with. There was a specific situation that happened in my life. It was roughly 2 years ago, and I had never opened up about it. And I just told one of my closest brothers recently about this, and he was just like, dude, I wish you would have told me this 2 years ago. Like, dude, we could have talked about this. Like, it would have been fine. I'm starting to get to a point. I was like, I told him, I'm like, while I understand that, you got to understand that 2 years ago, I was still working on vulnerability and being open and honest with people around me, but I wasn't at the level that I'm at right now, in terms of emotional awareness. So it was tough for me to be open and honest. It was also in a relationship too. Very tough for me to be vulnerable. I was always under the assumption in relationships a lot of times, and a lot of men still may agree with this. You shouldn't. I always said this, and I said this to, when I've been in relationships with before. I don't think a man should vent to his woman. It makes him look weak, and she will judge him. And, even if she says, I want to hear everything, it can make him look weak. It can make her doubt his ability to be stable in tough times and stuff like that. But now I start to recognize that really isn't true. And you should be able to be open and vulnerable, say with a man, with your partner, with your girlfriend, with your wife. Especially if that person is truly your person. They're not going to run. I think stoicism and being a solid man is very important. That's why I think there's a such thing called balance. Yes, you can be emotional, but you don't want to be like overly emotional. You don't want to be emotional to the point where, like, when tough times hit, you're going to, like, that's the wrong type of emotion. You're going to lose your shit. You're going to be all over the place. It's okay to show emotion, though. And when you're going through deep things, I think you should be able to be open and honest with your partner. Look, if your partner is going to judge you and say, wow, he's weak as shit, like, in like a moment of like being deep and honest with her and trying to open up to her, if she's like, oh, he's weak as shit, and then she leaves him, I'm going to tell you right now that woman is not the right woman for you. I'm going to tell you that right now, because any woman who truly loves her partner is not going to run when you are open and honest with them and you open up to them emotionally. I'm going to be honest, like, everybody's Attachment styles and upbringings are different, but I recognize that now that like, hey, that was, my thinking there was flawed. While I do think that there needs to be a balance, a balance, and that a man should be able to hold a certain type of frame, not a false frame, like a real frame, a real masculine frame that you carry throughout your life, not a show, not a front, not a people-pleasing frame, an honest frame that comes from you living your purpose, being your best self every single day. And for me, not everybody believes in God, whatever, I believe in God. So trying to rebuild my relationship with God over the last couple of years, and really in the last year heavily, understanding that putting God at the forefront and seeking God, you're living his divine will, and just holding that frame and understanding that, hey, I am the rock, I am this, but just carrying that masculine frame. But a masculine frame, I think it takes a lot of strength for a man to be able to open up and be vulnerable. I would actually say that doesn't make you weak at all. It shows actually a lot of strength as a man, because it's hard to do. Like, it's scary. We'll never admit it because we're men, right? We're like, whoop, didn't mean to hit my intro thing there. So I have my cursor on the keyboard. Technical stuff. No, but honestly, it takes a lot of strength for a man to be able to open up to people around him. I would actually say we don't like to show that. We're tough and we're this, and it takes a lot. Let me pull up this on Facebook real quick. Yeah. Nate, I appreciate you, brother. Beautiful speech. Wish I could speak on it on my way to work. You should have another week about this. Would love to speak on it then. Nate, absolutely, man. Let's chat behind the scenes. I'd love to bring you on here and we could talk, man. If you're not comfortable talking on camera, you know what I mean, man. Yeah, we'll talk behind the scenes, brother. But I know you can relate, man. You've been through some tough times yourself. A lot of tough times, man. You've been through a lot as a man, bro, that I can honestly say that a lot of men have never seen. Some of the lowest lows. So sometimes it takes the lowest lows to give you the highest highs. Just recognize that, man. I appreciate you. But yeah, as men, a lot of times we are so wired to be tough and be masculine and be strong. And it's understandable, right? Like that's how we are. That's honestly, that's how we are. We're built that way. Not all men are, I'll be honest. There's a lot of, I'm not trying to be judgmental here, but there's a lot of, unfortunately, toxic soft men out there that aren't, you know what I mean? I don't even want to get into that because it's like a whole red pill type of thing that we're going to go down. But to be honest with you, the way you carry yourself as a man is going to show in turbulent times how things are going to be. Like, it's like, hey, is he going to fall off his center? Is he going to be a rock? And I understand you want your friends and family to see you as a rock. You want your wife. You want if you want children, you want your children to see you as the rock, unwavering. But you also want your children to see. You want your wife to see. You want your friends and family to see that you're comfortable in your own masculinity to be able to open up emotionally. And anyone that doesn't want to be in your life because you open up emotionally, they probably don't belong in your life, or they probably have attachment trauma or trauma issues themselves. Something I've really worked on, like studying just in like downtime over the last couple of years, is attachment theory. So just understanding people's trauma and their core wounds. And I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist. I know a couple friends who are female, male, who are therapists. And it just gives me more compassion for people. Now, it doesn't give a right for people to treat you like shit or to show up for you in a shitty or negative way. But understanding these things kind of allows you to have an internal compassion. You can have compassion for people while separating yourself from people too. They don't need to be in your life. You can have compassion for people while they're not in your life. So important to understand that. But if people grew up where they were shunned, or they had core needs not addressed by their caregivers, parents, whatever, it can lead to a lot of struggles with how they interact with other people. And unfortunately, I do say this a lot, hurt people hurt people. So understand that sometimes though, when people hurt people, it's not always intentional. Sometimes it's subconscious. Like I said, it doesn't give anybody a right to accept that. If that's behavior you're not going to accept, you remove them from your life. But as men, we need to be better. We need to be better in terms of not letting our past trauma define who we are as men, and understanding that there are outlets out there. I'm going to give you not just emotional stuff. I'm going to actually give you, other than saying you can pray to God here, which God, you should pray. I'm going to be honest. If you're a Christian, you believe in God, whatever. If you're not a Christian, you don't have to be Christian. If you believe in God in general, I don't care what, God is one. So I don't care what your religion is, what you believe. If you have a belief in God, you should pray to God. I know, when I seek scripture, I seek God, things tend to go better in my life. And, there's times when, we question God. We're like, God, what are you doing in my life now that I'm praying to you? You kind of start to doubt. But I would say pray if you believe in God. But let me give you 5 practical steps you can actually take that aren't just based off of faith. So one of the things, and this is something I've worked with my therapist on, are regular internal check-ins. So if you guys are ever interested, there's a resource I can send you. It's called the 1-minute check-in. If you don't have a lot of time and you start to feel yourself, you feel a certain part in your body. I'll say some of the negative parts: anxiety, pride, patience if you're impatient, grief, whatever it is. If you start to feel some type of part like you're struggling, you can do this thing called a 1-minute check-in, where you essentially check in with the part, you let it know, you just take a deep breath, you close your eyes, and it's like a 1-minute meditation. But regular check-ins are ultimately a way to identify consistent time that you can regularly assess your mental health. You reflect on your emotions, take a step back, and you reflect on the stress levels. In the morning, the evening, even when you have a few minutes maybe in the car alone on your way to work, commuting, whatever. It can help you better understand the things that strengthen or drain your mental health. So like I said, you can do it in the morning, evening, when you're in the car, maybe going to work, grocery store, whatever you're doing. You can help you better understand things that strengthen or drain that mental health. So are these things contributing to improvement in your mental health, or are these things declining your mental health? Just really understand. You may not realize that you're struggling, especially if you're not used to caring for your mental health. So if you push things down and you suppress, but there's emotions down there, feel those emotions. And start by feeling those emotions with yourself. If you struggle to be vulnerable with others, feel them with yourself. Take the time to feel. Just feel. Just sit with that emotion and feel. But regularly check in with yourself. Guys, that's step 1. Number 2, practical step you can utilize is to get active. Exercise is a natural mood booster. So this is some of the tips I have here. You don't have to hit the gym and lift heavy weights. You don't have to run a marathon. You don't have to lift a ton of, you don't have to PR weights, whatever. Sometimes it's simple. Sometimes your energy levels are so low that you can't really fathom getting a heavy lift in at the gym, or you can't fathom running or walking 10 miles. I do that a lot. I go to hit these long hikes or whatever. And I lift weights heavy, but sometimes you just don't have the mental capacity. But it's better to get out and move your body somewhat, better than nothing at all. Sitting on the couch and when you're in a negative state, is sitting at home in a dark room, it's not going to do anything to enhance your mental health. Just from personal experience. So even if you just take a walk, a jog, maybe hit your local pool. If you go to a gym that has a pool, swim some laps. Maybe just go sit in the sauna if your gym has a sauna. Hit some links around the golf course, shoot some basketball, whatever you like to do. Maybe even just doing some yard work if you have a garden or yard. Move your body. That's the beauty, is if you have 2 legs that do function and you're not paralyzed or whatever, and you can move your body, that's the beauty, is that you can walk and move your body. You ever notice when you sit in, you ever notice people who have a lot of aches and pains, as they get older and they don't move around, they don't move very much? Or you ever notice someone who's been on bed rest for months and then they get up and their whole body's sore? Yeah, while rest is good, over resting actually hurts your body. So there's studies that literally show this. It hurts your body to oversit, to over rest. It's actually detrimental. So make sure you understand that you should get your rest each night. Try to sleep, get the hours. It's easier said than done for some people, right? If you have anxiety, it's a whole nother topic. But move your body, get up. It can be hard too. So, but I'm saying it's a lot of times your mental health is, there's nothing about sitting in a dark room that's a lot of times it's going to help. It's going to actually make you overthink more. It's going to have you more in your head more. So sometimes you just have to do it without even thinking, just to get up and take a walk, get outside, do something light, just whatever. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Even if you just get up and stretch, just something to get the blood flowing. And being active will keep your body and your mind in a positive place. I can tell you from personal experience. So at least from my experience, that's always put me in a good mood. I was just talking to a mentor of mine who's looking to get back healthy. He eats healthy, but he never works out. So he sees that I hike a lot. He was asking, if we could hit a trail together and hike, and like he wants to learn more about hiking and getting outside. I told him, for me, hiking, while it gets me my miles in, I feel good. I get a good workout in. It's been hot as hell lately, but you feel good when you come back to cool down after a good workout. I'll tell you what, I've been trying to do it early in the mornings rather than later in the day, because it's usually not as hot early in the morning before I start work. But anyway, I do a lot of flat trail and then heavy incline. Flat trail, heavy incline. I get, some elevation. But I told him, I'm like, mainly I do the outdoor workouts for self-reflection and a new perspective, getting outside, getting in nature. I'll listen to an audiobook. I'll listen to a podcast. Sometimes I'll just pause everything and I'll just be with my thoughts and I'll just hear the sounds around me. You know what? I love it. Not everybody is like a huge fan of nature or walking or running or whatever. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of running. I do run, but I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest. But it's just nice to get outside and get that solo time and different perspective. So we were talking about that. Take time to chill. Was just talking to a buddy of mine about this actually about a couple hours ago. He started a new job this week, and he's working a lot of hours in the training process, and he really hasn't had much time to chill. He's doing his wash, working out, working a lot. And then he said he was just going to hop on a video game for like an hour to chill. I'm like, everybody has like a thing they like to do to chill. I'm like, take the time to take the step back and chill, if you have it. So we're so busy with work, housework, keeping up with texts, emails, and more. See, my phone get notifications now. We get notifications all the time. It can be overwhelming. Carve out time for yourself every single day, even if it's just 5 minutes at a time, little short bursts. Take some deep breaths, take a short walk, listen to your favorite song, limit your screen time. You don't have to be hustling all the time. We live in a society where we're consistently on the go. And while it's good to work hard, there's nothing wrong with a little hard work and grinding and building your empire. We all, especially as men, we get in this mindset. You got to build our empire. You got to build our family. And that's great. It's a good mindset to have. You don't want to be stagnant and just, I'm going to be honest, you don't want to be a bum and just be sitting around doing nothing and not on your grind, not on your mission, not on your purpose. You're consistently consumed by distractions, entertainment. Of course, you don't want to live that type of life. But understand, too, there's never a perfect such thing, I think, as work-life balance. But you have to really figure out what matters to you in life. So say, for me, 3 of the biggest main things that would matter to me in my life are my work and my purpose. That could be my current job, side hustles, certifications I'm getting from my career, maybe a license that I'm working on getting for my career, starting my business, my LLC, building my empire, building my purpose, this podcast. I would say my health and my fitness. So eating correctly, going to the gym to lift weights, getting outside and getting my miles in. An important part of my life because I want to be able to stay as fit and active as I possibly can, but also the relationships in my life. So, my friends and my family, my partner, I don't have any biological children yet, but when I have my biological kids, my kids, carving out time for those closest to me is highly important too. We need to be able to find balance, because say if you like you're teetering in one area, right? You're teetering in one area where, like, say like you're working all the time, right? As a man, you're building your empire, you're protecting, you're providing, you're doing all this, but you neglect your partner and you neglect your kids. Okay, so you're overdoing it in one area, but you're neglecting your kids. You have to really figure out. I think this is key too. So many people have things. I'm actually going to just kind of completely circumvent this into like another direction here. I was just listening to an audiobook the other day on this, and in the book, it's about, being the best version of yourself as a man. So, husband, a father, a son, a brother, all different areas in your community, as a friend. A lot of times we prioritize so many things. We fill our schedule with a million things. But a lot of it is like BS bullshit. Not everybody has their schedule filled with that, but I'm just saying there's a lot of bullshit. I noticed this myself. Sometimes I am prioritizing the wrong things that aren't serving where I want to go in life. So if they're not serving me, I'm getting to the point where I'm cutting shit out of my life. If it doesn't serve me, I'm done with the people pleasing. I'm done with trying to do certain things. I'm cutting it out of my life if it doesn't serve my life. This is something I'm recognizing. Yeah, I'm 32 years old, and I'm recognizing this. Like, certain things don't serve where I'm trying to go. So if those are my three main pillars, my health, my purpose and mission, and my relationships in my life, the ones that are serving me my best interest. I'm not talking about what I can gain from them financially. I'm just saying the people that are in my corner, they're truly serving my life. Those are the relationships I want to focus on. And I want to focus on my mission and my purpose, and I want to focus on my health. I'm talking about my mental health, my emotional health, my physical health, my spiritual health, and being close to God. So if these things don't serve my life, I'm removing them. And that removes all the bullshit distractions. It removes all the other stuff, because we only have 24 hours in a day, and usually 8 of them we're sleeping. So you have technically 16 hours in a day. How much can you really give your time? And you can get looped into this cycle where you're giving a bunch of bullshit your time and attention that if you really take a step back and figure out where do you want to be in 5 to 10 years, what do you want for your future in terms of your career, your family, all this, understanding a lot of the bullshit probably isn't serving you. So that's just me being honest. A lot of it's not probably serving you. Everybody's life's different, but I know for me, a lot of that shit wasn't serving me. So it's stuff that I'm removing because I only have so many hours in a day. We overstress ourselves a lot of times. But when we actually look at our calendar, see what your calendar is actually filled with. A lot of it doesn't. It's not shit that's going to serve you. Make healthy choices. So let me go to. Sorry, guys. There we go. Make healthy choices. So in addition to trying to maintain that balanced schedule, taking the rest, getting active, it's important to eat a balanced diet, get adequate sleep. I was already talking about this, and avoid excessive alcohol and substance use. Look, going out having a couple drinks on the weekends with your friends or whatever, you're on vacation, cool. But when you rely on it as a crutch, it's a problem. This isn't just alcohol, though. This isn't just substances. This isn't just weed or marijuana, whatever. Cigarettes, drugs, whatever you prefer. This also goes to porn. If you're jerking off to porn, it's a crutch. If you're over consuming television, shows, movies to fill a void in your life, it's a crutch. If you are gambling, addiction, a crutch. There's a lot of different ways. Even sports can be a crutch. If you overwatch sports, a lot of times I always say this. I love Philly sports, right? I'm a 4-for-4 Philly sports guy. So Phillies, Eagles, Flyers, and Sixers. But the thing about sports is it's entertainment. So this is something, I would distract, I love the Eagles, believe me. Like, I love my Philly sports. The Birds are on Sunday. Don't talk to me. I'm watching the Birds. But I'll be honest, you have to also understand that it's entertainment. So, we wear another man's name on our back and, everything like that. It's cool. We have something that, like, as a part of our community, and we love to see our teams win and everything like that. But at the end of the day, it's really just bragging rights. You don't play for the team. It's not your mission. It's not your purpose. If the team loses, it's not going to be the end of the world. If they win, cool, you got bragging rights. It feels good. But as a Philly sports fan, I can also step aside and say that it is entertainment. So even sports can be an addiction. Just make sure it's not consuming you. If you're just consuming sports content all week and it's taken away from your purpose, if it's taken away time from your family, if it's taken away you getting to the gym to work on your health and fitness and your goals, to get away from your hobbies, that's when it becomes a problem. Any of these things can be an addiction. So make healthy choices. Go into the diet part of it. Maintaining a healthy diet can help reduce your symptoms of depression and fatigue. Something I've struggled with, definitely eating healthy. I have no problem getting workouts in, but eating healthy has been a struggle for me in my life. Genuinely, I'd say after I graduated high school, it's been a struggle in my life. So it's something I'm trying to be better with. Just being mindful, slowing down when I eat, taking steps back, small things, small steps. Getting enough sleep also, it can improve concentration and productivity and emotional responses and social interactions. Lack of sleep is also connected with depression and an overall increase in cognitive, decrease in cognitive ability. So remember, the baby steps, the small changes, they go a long way. And then I would say maintain your social connections. It's important to maintain your social connections, family, friends. If you have a partner as a man, like you have a girlfriend or a wife, make sure you check in with your wife or your girlfriend like daily. Make sure, talk to your kids, turn off the TV, put down your phone, spend time with the people you care about and make you feel good. Like I said, the people that serve your life and actually love you or are in your corner. Don't be afraid to initiate social plans. Take the initiative. I used to do it all the time with people. I know some people are just so much in the I'm not going to reach out to them. They don't reach out to me. Whatever. I don't really care about all that. At the end of the day, I'll take a step back if people just don't respond to my plans or everything like that. But sometimes just take the initiative. You know what I mean? Ask your family and friends to see a concert, watch a big game, take a hike, grab a dinner, work out at the gym, whatever it is. Something fun you want to do. You want to travel somewhere cool. Like ask. And just understand that you probably have a support system in your life. I thought for the longest that I couldn't trust my emotions with anybody. I would hold it dear near here. And I just wouldn't talk about it. But just understand that if you don't have anybody in your life that you can trust, try to talk to a licensed professional, someone who's non-biased and doesn't have anything in your life. And sometimes it takes a while to find the therapist that you really click with. But I would say don't give up. There's a lot of stigma with this. Let me check Facebook here. Appreciate you, Nate. But yeah, mental health, it is the thing about mental health for men is just understand that it is important to find a balance between your emotions and your stoic nature. A lot of people too might not really know stoic nature is just that calm, collected nature that a lot of men carry themselves with when it comes to tough times, right? We're the rock, right, of the family. And I was just talking to actually a buddy earlier about this. Let me see if I can find this. This is a man who's engaged and has two children. Two boys. He says, I'll say it is often in our job to remain stoic when all hell breaks loose. And it does take a toll. It does. We have to understand that when these times do come, to be ready, to be ready, right? Try to prepare in advance for these types of times when you start to recognize, say you're a married man, and I talk to guys who are married all the time, and you trust your wife, just be like, hey, babe, honestly, I'm feeling a little burnout. I just need a moment to kind of collect myself, and then, hey, can we sit down and talk? And you should be able to be open and honest with your wife. You should. This is something that if you would have asked me this like 2 years ago, I would have told you, absolutely not. Vent to your boys. Don't show your wife any weakness. And I just don't think, I think while there's a good balance that needs to be shown, if your wife is truly there for you and truly loves you and can help keep us, I always say, a good woman will always keep her man grounded. They keep us grounded. The good women in our lives, they keep us grounded as men. Sometimes we need that, just like they need us to be their rock in the turbulent times when they're going through their grief and their struggles, right? We stay there and we're stoically the rock. At least you should be. You should be your woman's rock. I mean, shit. That's how, at least, I was raised to be that way. But you should be able to be immovable. There's going to be times when, you're going to need to show emotion, but just like that, our women keep us grounded, right? And you should be able to be open and vulnerable with your woman. Believe me, I'm literally preaching to myself, because last year I was not vulnerable, especially with a partner in my life. Absolutely not. Like, just keep it all down. I would always be there for that person, but I would never be there for myself in terms of like opening up to that person. It's almost like you get into a habit where you don't want to burden your wife or your kids with your problems, because you're like, they're already going through their stuff. I don't want to burden them. Unfortunately, though, when we don't speak up about these things, we carry it and we just press it down, and we wear a mask and we just hide these things. And when we hide these things, guess what happens? Irritability comes out. The more impatient you're going to be, the more pissed off you're going to be, the more you're going to take it out on your kids. You're going to take it out on your kids because you're upset. You're going to take it out on your family. You're going to take it out on those closest to you. You're going to hurt people around you because of the fact that you're suppressing everything. And that leads to that irritability. That leads to that mask. And guess what? That leads to, there's links to this, that the more we suppress our feelings and our emotions, the more depressed, like a lot of times it can be highly linked to depression. A lot of us, because of our childhood wounds, can be brought up with avoidant nature, avoidant attachment, which means we avoid our feelings. We avoid our emotions. Some people like talk about it like it's a badge of honor sometimes. So like, well, yeah, I avoid my emotions. Well, it's actually like, while I said it's, there's a balance that there can be there. You should be able to express yourself to people. And it honestly makes me sad for people that struggle with it, because I've been there. So guys, if you're out there and you're struggling with this, just understand that you're not alone. You're not alone in it. I've gone through it too. And we weren't the first men to go through it, and we're not going to be the last. Just understand that the more we suppress with unhealthy coping mechanisms, the more that this is going to come out. And suicide rates among men are always up. The suicide rate among men versus women is a good amount higher. And I'm not taking away from women. Women, like I said, y'all ground us and y'all bear our children. Like, it's one of the most amazing things to say, y'all are the mother, like y'all are the women who bear our children. Like, the things you guys have to put your bodies through is crazy. Massive respect for y'all as women. But let me see, suicide. So this is the most recent poll we have here. Men account for 76% of the suicide deaths worldwide. So if we take the poll of women who have committed suicide versus men, 76% are men. There's approximately, it's a lot. Men literally, they contribute for a lot of it. And a lot of it, I think, stems from this. men face stigma from seeking out mental health issues, which can prevent them, unfortunately, from accessing the necessary support and treatment that's needed to get help for what's going on. So any brothers that, if I can even reach one person on this podcast tonight, anybody who's watching this out here, I don't care if you're watching live right now or you're watching sometime 3-4 years from now and you see this episode, just understand something. You are not alone. And there are resources for you out there. I just want you guys to know I love you, brothers. Anybody who's watching out there, I love y'all. So understand that y'all are not alone. You're not going to be the first to go through it, and you're not going to be the last. But that's the most important thing to understand, is that you're not alone, and there are resources for you. You know, you're not weird for struggling with mental health. There's a big stigma out there. There's social pressures. There's a whole different things. But I would say try not to cope with unhealthy things like alcohol and suppressing your emotions and doing all this stuff. Feel them. Even if you got to feel them by yourself for a while. I don't care if you need to go in a corner and scream or cry or whatever. Let it all out. And if you have anybody in your life that you're close to, I challenge you to be vulnerable with them. And I understand for some people it's really tough because, like I said, I know what it's like to open up to people and to have it used against you later on, because I've been there growing up. I've been there. People that are not really in my life anymore, obviously, but have thrown shit back in my face or kept score with me. You know, I work to never do that with people because I know what it's like. And just understand that, like, you're not alone. You are not alone. Just understand this. Let me pull up some resources for you guys. We got our classic ones here. So these are going to be like your national resources here. I always pull these up here. There's NAMI, which is your National Alliance on Mental Illness. You can just text 988. You can use the chat. Organizations like that, you can search up NAMI. You can also look up the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. It's SAMHSA. You can text 988 or just use the chat feature on 988lifeline.org. It's basically the suicide prevention line, the suicide crisis lifeline, the suicide and crisis lifeline. So you can text 988, text or call 988, or you can use the chat feature on 988lifeline.org. And let me look locally, because I know we have some that I can always tell you about. So like I was saying about NAMI, there's also NAMI Philadelphia. So NAMI Philadelphia and the City of Philadelphia Department of Behavioral Health. There's plenty of broad mental health service groups. I'll always put this out there to you guys. Talia Medical Center in Montgomery County. It's THALIA. THALIA. Our good friend on the podcast, Layla Ozer, has come on here before, and she works for Talia. So I will always shout them out. They offer good support from what I hear over there. So I will always search them out. There's other resources and support groups out there too. There's virtual meetups for men to discuss mental health topics and build community. There's a thing called Black Men Heal. There's another one called the Mankind Project. There's another one just called Mental Health America, MHA, which this can honestly offer you information on finding mental health treatment, including services on a sliding scale, according to MHA. What I could also say is I'm not sure how religious you guys are, but if you do and you do go to a church, check out and see if your church has any connect groups too. Connect groups can be a solid way for you to build trust. So like I said, there in churches, there's women's groups a lot of times. There's men's groups where you can build brotherhood. And then there's couples groups as well, where you and your partner can come together as a couple and go through this group together, which I think can be powerful. I've never done one for couples, but I've done a couple of men's groups. And I can say that I'm honestly only on my second one now. I did my first one this past spring, and it was enlightening. And I'm not gonna lie, it was a little nerve-wracking at first, if I'm being honest, because it made me, step out of my comfort zone and put myself in an originally uncomfortable position. But you know what? It felt great to do. And it built up my confidence and courage a little bit more when it comes to these types of things and being vulnerable and honest. I just knew it was something I needed to do. But if you do go to a church that has connect groups, take advantage of them. I would say see which one works for you. I'm sure there's probably going to be groups that you don't jive with, you don't vibe with, and that's okay. One leader in my church told me that not all of these connect groups are successful. Some are. Ours wound up being a successful one, but not all connect groups are successful. So you have to understand that a lot of them, like, they'll play with, kind of it, like, to see what it can be like going forward. And if it's successful, hey, we'll create this, each semester. But take advantage, guys. Let me see. And like I said, I always state this. I am not a licensed mental health professional in any way. I'm not a licensed psychiatrist. I am not a licensed therapist. If you genuinely, everything I speak of on this podcast is based off of personal experience and things I've seen in people that are close to me. But even then, I don't speak on their circumstances because that's personal and that's between me and them. So I'm not going to ever name shout someone or say anybody's personal business on here because people struggle. But what I will tell you is everything is from personal experience on here. So if you are in serious need of and you're struggling with mental health, any of this stuff out there, boys, seek a licensed professional. Could be a therapist, could be a psychiatrist, licensed psychologist, whatever it is. Make sure that you understand that there are resources out there. Check through your insurance and see who, if you have insurance, go through your insurance and see who's in your network that you can potentially go to. And like I said, with therapists, I know the first couple therapists that I went to, it didn't work out. Like, I didn't have the connection. And now I have a therapist now that's really good. So it takes time sometimes. Just understand that. You might not jive with the first therapist or two that, but it's up to you to speak out about that too. It takes a little bit of courage sometimes. Like, we don't want to hurt their feelings, but you know what? Just, you don't want to waste time if you feel like you're not getting what you need from that therapy session. And the right way to go about it is to be upfront and honest and communicate that, which can be a struggle for some people, but don't just ghost them, be honest. See on Facebook. I'm all right with this being quiet right now, guys. Let's see if any other comments come in as I have this here. Cool. I'm putting on her right now. I'm curious to see if Mario is able to make it on in the next 5 minutes or so. If he doesn't come on, that's okay. I'm going to probably wrap this one up here. Dante's at work, so I guess he couldn't make it. Rich couldn't make it. And it looks like this one might have just been me, but that's okay. If Mario can't pop in, we will call it, guys. Any comments you're watching out there, comment. I will throw it up on the screen, or if it's on Facebook, I have it right here. I will address it. Let's see what comes through here. Anybody who's in the Philly area or just even the surrounding area, I hope everybody's safe out there. I've had a friend who said they literally got a tornado up near them. It was a crazy storm that came through here about an hour and a half ago. So Hope everybody's safe and okay. Let's see. Let's see. All right, guys, I'm going to hang out like another minute or two. Let me see. See if Mario comes in. If he doesn't, I'm just going to wrap up in 2 minutes, guys. Let's see if any last minute comments come through here. Let's see. All right, guys. I think I'm just going to wrap it up here. Men's mental health is so important, guys. We need to release the stigma, and we need to speak up, and we need to talk about these resources. I am going to still continue to cover another episode on this throughout the summer. I'll try to get Nate on here too and some of the guys, but just remember, you're not alone, and we need to show up as the best version of ourselves as men. The best start to that is to start feeling and speaking up about our emotions. It doesn't make you weak, it makes you strong. Guys, with that being said, just want to give out the shout out to the resources again. You can find these NAMI. Let me type some of these in. Sorry, I guess I'm just typing out the resources here. Just deleted my whole thing of resources. Um, So there's some of your sources, guys. You got NAMI, 988 suicide and crisis line. What that is you just text or call 988. Men's connect groups through your local church, if you're involved with a local church, brotherhood groups. And then there's personal sources, like you could do your partner, your wife, girlfriend, family, friends, etc. Local resources include NAMI Philadelphia and Dahlia Medical Center in Montgomery County. However, there's a ton more. There's a plethora more on both sides of this. So, guys, I hope that this was helpful for you. Like I said, it doesn't make you weak to be knowledgeable about your mental health. What it does is it actually makes you emotionally aware, emotionally intelligent, and it makes you strong, not weak. With that being said, have a great night, great weekend, guys. And we see you next week for episode 216, where my good friend Ray is going to be joining for the first time. And we will be talking some more personal development and growth. The topic is still to be determined, but we'll get in touch with you more throughout the week with promotion. Have a great weekend, guys, and enjoy that first upcoming day of summer. Until next time.